Good lord, is it already the end of 2023? Where does the time go? Oh yeah, that's right, into the crippling anxiety and doubt that gnaws away at our souls. Every year brings its own personal spin to the horrors of the world, and my year certainly ended on a pretty bad note with my father's cancer diagnosis. Shameless plug for GoFundMe! Oh boy, everything sucks. But there were some good games released. Plus, my time with the Shake the Box community is always a joy. Hanging out with all of you in the Discord and the stream are the highlights of my day, every day. So without any further depressing preamble, let's talk about the games. From number 10, all the way up to number 1. But first, a very important honorable mention. This stupid game came out in 2016, but also 2018, but also 2021, and then it happened again in 2023. That's right, it's Hitman World of Assassination. Technically this is Hitman 1, 2, and 3, but the World of Assassination aspect is a roguelike remix of the entire 3-game package. You get procedural targets on any of the game's many levels, randomized missions go along with the various hits. The real fun is the upper-ranked members of the secret society you're fighting. You have multiple potential targets, but only one of them's the real target, so you gotta compare them against known features like glasses or a mustache. And you have to wait for certain tells to happen, like a dude likes to smoke cigarettes and is a foodie. Bringing in better gear makes life easier for you, but if you fail the mission, all that gear is lost forever until you manage to buy new ones, or abscond with new ones, during your missions. It's the Hitman experience boiled down to its most chaotic, and while you lose out on the more refined assassination potential of the story missions, it's made up for with the sheer scale of how much game it opens up. Plus, it's always funny when the game talks about these important figures in the shady organization, but then your target ends up being like a sewer line worker, or a waiter. I guess being part of the ruling elite doesn't pay like it used to. Really, it should be in the top 10. I love that stupid mess of a game, but the World of Assassination game mode is less of a proper release and more of a rebranding with a content update. So here we are. Anyway, let's begin with the real number 10, shall we? Now this is a game that I played while it was in early access, and that was most of my playtime with it. I've only played a few runs of it while it's in 1.0, but I've enjoyed it. It's Against the Storm. It takes the city management and building genre and morphs it into a roguelike. Hey, are there any genres left to be roguified? Have we done a roguelike visual novel yet? What about a dating sim with procedurally generated waifus? Anyway, you get mini-cities to build with randomized species who all have their own wants and needs. You get randomized building types, randomized events, different wind conditions that other buildings can provide, all kinds of randomized city building stuff. And every city you build becomes a link in your trade routes as the longer form run progresses, which is comprised of multiple small city builds. So rather than one super long game, it's several smaller runs that comprise one super long game. Well, damn. The full release has added some challenging goals for the longer run as well, and I'm excited to fail at those miserably. Boy, I said run a whole lot just then. And it's an interesting take on the genre, which challenges you to pick your building unlocks carefully with consideration for the biome you're in, species you control, wind conditions as they appear during the game, and all kinds of other fun stuff. It's a nice pop-in, build a settlement, and then take a break until your next one, all while slowly working toward the reforging of a seal in the larger run format. If you like city builders, I recommend it, it's great. Number 9 is Baldur's Gate 3. Listen, you already know enough about this game. The internet and the award shows love this game. It's good, it's great even. I still prefer Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, but I'm also an old man who yells at people to get off his lawn. It's practically an endless Dungeons & Dragons simulator with countless ways to play and tackle any given situation. Plus, all you perverts get to have sex with weird stuff! Anyway, moving on. What's the 8th best game for me this year? Well, it's a remake of the 4th entry in a franchise, which itself has been remastered and re-released like 78 times or so. That's right, Resident Evil 4 remake, baby. I still gotta put together a remasterpiece review of this bad boy because it was good. It almost feels like a cover of a game more than a remake at times. I mean, the gameplay is smooth and satisfying, but that's just a natural evolution of the modern Resident Evil gameplay that the original Resident Evil 4 pioneered for the franchise. And that's exactly what I wanted from a remake. I just wanted more of that good gameplay, just a little bit better, you know? The cover part, that feeling that it's a cover of a game almost, that comes from the fact that the tone and where the game chooses to place emphasis or changes, it's a little unique. It's a bit less camp than the original. It feels less like a B horror movie that you could imagine Bruce Campbell starring in, and instead it feels a little bit closer to something you might expect from like T. West, you know, the director of X and Pearl. It's a bit weird, it's a bit over the top, but it's kind of self-serious, you know? It keeps you a little bit grounded as you go through it. It's a great revisit of a great game. And they even made the island segment suck less. That was the worst part of the original playthrough. And then the DLC for it is massive. And it's only $10 on release. That DLC was longer than Resident Evil 3 Remake in its entirety. A tremendous sense of value. Tears of the Kingdom. Haha! I started with a game before the number that time, keeping you on your toes. So yeah, this is my 7th entry. I know the Breath of the Wild format for Zelda can be a bit polarizing for the fanbase, but boy do I love it. Tears of the Kingdom addressed my only real complaints about the game by introducing more full-size dungeons, larger scale puzzles, more long-form story quests for you to go on. So I love this damn game. The format of giving the player highly adaptive tools early and then providing a massive world filled with open-ended problems that the player can solve with those tools is kind of like taking a classic Zelda dungeon and turning it inside out. It's the whole world now. Almost any given problem can be solved in an endless variety of ways, and really it's just my fault that I will solve literally all of them by building useless, horrible garbage. Crossing paths with the leader of the Yiga clan over the course of the game, hunting down mysterious tablets in the stratosphere, working with a pun-crazed pelican to break major news stories for a paper, and even inventing pizza. The kinds of adventures that are spread out over the world of Tears of the Kingdom are great, and it makes it so I'll never actually save Zelda from being trapped in time or whatever is that happened to her. I think Ganondorf's around or something. I don't know, me and Perry the Pelican haven't gotten around to that news story yet, alright? We're still breaking all kinds of other news stories. Now, number 6 is a little bit of an underdog story for me, because it's a game I played the demo for, and I was just, like, super underwhelmed by it. But then, the full game dropped, and it revealed that the demo was literally the worst parts of the game. Well, except for the last area of the game, which is made entirely of narrow ledges and falls that are either fatal or worse, resulting in redoing a section of the level. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's Lies of P, featuring just so many bad name choices. A P organ? Come on now. While it's true this game isn't shy about being heavily inspired by FromSoft's catalog, once the game opens up a bit and starts introducing more of its original mechanics, things really pick up. As the weirdo retelling of Pinocchio progresses, you get more interesting creature designs, unique weapons with fun movesets, a bunch of them you could break apart and reassemble with other parts to like change up the moveset or change up the scaling, an entire parry system to ignore, and weird buddies to make in the world. Most of the major story beats can be seen coming a mile away, but that doesn't really make them any less fun, particularly with the excellent voice acting everyone brings to the table. One of the best entries in the Souls-like genre overall, and I'm now super excited for the next weird-ass game they're gonna make, which I believe is gonna be Wizard of Oz related. We're going Wizard of Oz Souls-like. I'm kind of into it. I'm excited. I'm gonna be honest with you. At this point, the next 5 games are all kind of tied in my head. To be fair, number 1, it's stayed number 1, but 5 through 2, they've shuffled around a bunch of times, and it's less about their quality, where they're going to fall in this list, and more about just how I feel right now while writing the script. So just keep that in mind. They're all quality experiences. They're all very, very good. It's weird that this is number 5 even. By the way, we're moving on to number 5. I feel like this should be higher, but like the other games are also really... I'm sorry. I'm driving myself nuts. It's Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This game is awesome. And I use that word in both senses. It's super goddamn cool, but also it inspires awe. Every damn level of this game brings something interesting to the table. You literally never know what will happen when you grab a Wonder Seed. Is it gonna suddenly turn into a musical number? A game show quiz. Is it going to be top down? Is gravity going to change? Are you going to be silhouettes? Are you going to become super stretchy and tall? Anything can happen. And then besides the Wonder Seeds, you have badges. You collect these badges while you play the game and you equip them and they alter how the game plays. And then the game gives you levels that will challenge you to utilize those badges in challenging situations. Of course, after that you have mini scavenger hunt levels that just challenge your Mario lateral thinking. It might be the best paced Mario game ever with the variety and types of levels and how they're arrayed before you. It'll always have palette cleansers and then palette cleansers for palette cleansers, levels that are hard to challenge you and levels that are just kind of easy breezy, live in the moment levels. It's great. And you could play the game how you want. You got characters that make the game super easy, allowing for more of a tour of the game than anything else. You could skip levels you don't like, or ignore collectibles. And then for sickos like me, you could take the time to hunt down every single collectible in the game, get every single hidden exit in the game, find every single hidden level. 100% the game. It's the ultimate 2D Mario experience. Man, it even has like an active multiplayer mode you could play, but beyond that, it has like a Dark Souls inspired passive multiplayer experience where player ghosts and standees can help you and you can help other players. God, I'm actually a little bit bummed that I 100% of the game because now there's no game left for me to complete. I gotta say, early access is really making these sorts of lists hard to do. This game, it came out in 2019, but that was early access. The full release came out this year, 2023, so even though I played a lot of it multiple years in a row, it didn't count until now. Anyway, they smartly released this bad boy in October of 2023 because it is World of Horror, coming in at number 4. World of Horror is proud to be inspired by Junji Ito's manga. It's proud to be inspired by the writings of H.P. Lovecraft. It's proud to be inspired by adventure games from the age of early home computers. Stuff like Uninvited. Just look at that. Did you even notice I switched game footage there, huh? This is Uninvited right here. Okay, I mean, it's just wild to me, like, how similar it can kind of look. Going back to World of Horror, okay. It is, of course, a roguelike version of a horror point-and-click adventure game. You set the parameters of your particular run, and then you scramble to solve 5 random mysteries in a doomed town. These can range from mad science, serial killings, insane cults, and everything in between, including maybe haunted ramen? I don't know, I'm not gonna spoil anything. Anyway, once you solve all 5, you could break into the lighthouse at the center of the whole mess and attempt to confront whatever elder god is encroaching on your reality before it breaks through into your world. Or you can fail and end up dead or committed to an asylum. Classic Lovecraftian horror. While you can learn the details of each mystery as you rack up the hours, they all come with multiple endings for you to puzzle out, as well as the daily events you encounter while doing the mysteries are all random and they're based on the locations you're in, and other various factors. So it keeps the game fresh for a good long while, even if you are doing the same mystery you may have done 4 or 5 times behind. It's really one of the standouts of the year, and it might be the kind of game you look at and write off because of its 1-bit graphics, but I implore you, give it a chance, especially if you have any love for adventure games or horror, or Junji Ito, or H.P. Lovecraft. Here at number 3, I'm going to be honest with you, like, I'm packing to leave to see my family, and I'm scrambling to get this done. Everything's been so chaotic, so forgive me. Anyway, number 3! Normally, I make a bit of a distinction for the top 3, but this year it was the top 5 because I'm greedy, and I can't make up my mind. So, without any additional fanfare, number 3 is Theater Rhythm: Final Bar Line. This game is massive. It's bursting at the seams with music from the entire Final Fantasy franchise. And then when you throw in the DLC, this monstrous game includes music from some of Square Enix's greatest games. Not Parasite Eve, though, because they personally have a vendetta against me and they refuse to acknowledge one of their best games ever, but it does have some tracks from Final Fantasy Tactics, and some characters from it as well, so... Now go remake Final Fantasy Tactics and Parasite Eve, Squeenix. Come on. Do it already. I don't understand why you... I'm sorry, I got distracted again. Besides being a delightful rhythm game with an incredible variety of classic tracks, rearranged tracks, and remixed tracks to enjoy, it also has the sorta kinda RPG mode that the franchise introduced a while back that lets you level up various characters from all these iconic games, form parties with them, collect treasures and collectibles and summons, and fight monsters while playing rhythm games set to, like, each individual game's soundtrack. It's one of my favorite things ever. I really like theater rhythm. It even has a competitive multiplayer mode, which is great. It's just fun to sit down and just rhythm game Final Fantasy at other people. It's basically the de facto rhythm game in my life outside of, like, Pistol Whip, which is more of a workout than anything else. And after seeing the franchise finally graduate off of handhelds and onto proper consoles, it's great. I can't recommend it enough if you like rhythm games, Final Fantasy music, or just like the Squeenix catalog in general. Number 2 is a remake of one of my all-time favorite games. Hell, it could have been number 1, but it would have felt a little cheap to give it number 1 because it's really being carried by how good the original was. Which, to be clear, was really goddamn good. Best game ever. I love it so much. It's Super Mario RPG. Now, remake or otherwise, it's just a perfect RPG in almost every way. I'm serious. Serious. It's like a vertical slice of what makes an RPG compelling, but it's condensed down to have perfect pacing. It takes less than any given hour of playtime of this game for a new location, a new character, a new ability, a new gag, a new something to have happened. The game is snappy. There's no sagging middle. There is no 20 hours of kinda bad opening. There's no overly long final stretch of the game. Almost every great RPG suffers from one of those things. Seriously, how many times have you had someone say to you, like, hey, you gotta play Persona 3. The first 30 hours are terrible, but the last 30 hours are some of the greatest video gaming hours of all time. And it's like, 30 hours? I don't have that time. You could play Super Mario RPG 3 times in the time it takes you to get through the bad part of Persona 3. But not Mario RPG, baby. Besides all that, this game is arguably where the Mario franchise would go on to find a lot of its personality. Bowser as an insecure try-hard villain struggling with his place in a Mario-centric world, right here. Mario as a mute protagonist who gets clowned on despite almost legendary status, right here, baby. Toad as a helpful tutorial feed / info dumpster, you got it. Paper Mario would steal from this game wholesale, while the larger Mario franchise would kind of lightly steal what it liked, and really be influenced heavily by it. The remake has all of that, of course, but with incredibly charming new graphics, delightful cutscenes that complement the game perfectly, a downright criminally perfect orchestrated soundtrack from the original composer, with the option to swap to the original MIDI whenever you want. They even, somehow, impossibly, improved on the original game, which is what you always want from a remake. It has everything I could ask for, like, seriously. So, you perfectly time your attack, it's now going to add splash damage for crowd control. You can hot swap characters during combat to better counter certain enemies, and that's going to be very important for the post-game content they added, which is super hardcore versions of all the more memorable bosses in the game. It's incredible. There's a meter that builds up for perfectly timed attacks and blocks, which allows for team-up super abilities that change based on your party composition. My god, they even tell you when an attack can't be blocked, and precisely what stats will change for each of your level-up choices. It's incredible. And again, I already mentioned it, but I want to reiterate, when it's all wrapped up, when this perfect RPG has a bow on top and the end credits roll, they let you start back over, not at the beginning, but right before the final boss, and they add in a scavenger hunt for you to, like, hunt down and revisit previous bosses. But again, they ramp them up into, like, super hardcore versions of those bosses. You're gonna have to use every one of your skills to take them down. It's incredible. It's a delightful little crown on the head of what must be in your playlist for video games. Like, if you play RPGs even a little bit, you must play Mario RPG. Even if listen to me, even if you have to emulate the original, please do me a favor and play it. People that don't like RPGs need to play Mario RPG, and then they could see the potential of the genre, I promise. Finally, it's time for number 1. For those of you who pay super close attention, you know there are 7 games in my collage of footage that plays between entries while I talk. It could be any one of those. Which one do you think it's gonna be, huh? Yeah, right. Obviously, it's Armored Core 6. In what world wouldn't it be Armored Core 6, huh? Tell me. Tell me right now. I'm sorry. I lost my cool again. This game is basically everything I wanted from a revival of the Armored Core franchise. It's got dense screens of parts with even denser screens of various numbers, mission-based structure, morally ambiguous characters and decisions for the player to make, and giant robots that fight and explode. Yeah! Giant robots! Crucially... Oh lord, I'm losing my mind. Crucially, it has an updated control scheme that feels so goddamn good in the hand. I grew up on mostly first and second generation Armored Core, and the controls for those games, to borrow a clip from Angry Video Game Nerd here, they are ass! Seriously, they are so alien that pro Armored Core players would hold their controllers upside down. I mean, look at this. Are you seeing this? That's madness. That is utter madness right there. That controller is upside down and backwards. This is a Bizarro Universe version of playing a video game. Come on.
What were they thinking?
In true modern FromSoft fashion, this game is an evolution of all that comes before it. It incorporates things they learned from making other games as well, most notably Sekiro. The inclusion of a breakpoint akin to posture is a welcome feature. It allows for more refined mech builds that capitalize on the new system and exploit a weakened enemy. The quick dash system from Armored Core 4 and 4 Answers here, making things super fast-paced, which I absolutely love. Environmental storytelling's on full display, which is at this point a hallmark of the company. Voice acting is all perfect, and they gave me Rusty, who is now my canonical boyfriend, because of how awesome he is in every way. Even the game's structure is exciting, with a new Game Plus and a new Game Plus Plus that see the missions change, new missions appear, incredibly surprising changes in the middle of a mission that you thought was normal where they offer you a shocking choice, and entirely different paths that will open up to the player. Playing the game is it's just fun. It's exciting. You can challenge yourself to get S ranks on every level. You can collect all the parts. And of course you can enter the arena and show them that those shotguns and songbirds won't save them from your double melee build. And don't forget to apply copious amounts of horrendous paint and decals. That way they know you are a man or woman of fashion. Now, while I absolutely require Elden Ring DLC in my life as soon as possible, I also need a companion game to Armored Core 6 that lets me import all of my parts, gives me more ambiguous moral questions and adventures to explore, and ideally they'll let me do it with my BFF Rusty and my mecha daddy Walter. Well, there you have it. My top 10 list of 2023, technically a top 11 list of 2023. It's really just, these are the games that left a big enough impression on me that I felt compelled to talk about them, with an honorable mention especially for Dredge, which would have been right where Against the Storm was, had I flipped a coin and it landed on heads instead of tails. They were basically interchangeable, I'm so sorry. So what games left a mark on you this year? How horribly wrong is my list? What are you excited to see in 2024? Tell me in the goddamn comments down below. And as always, hit those like and subscribe buttons, come hang out in the Discord, maybe introduce yourself during a stream next time it's on, which at this point, given what's going on, it's probably gonna be January. I'll be back January 3rd, January 4th, like one of those I'll be back on, because right now I'm with my family where I need to be. Anyway, here's to, hopefully, a good 2024, and as always, much love to you, my Shake the Box family. Stay healthy, stay happy, and play the games you love. Chris out.